так тогда и сделаем, да, давайте. Друзья, прекрасен наш союз. Немного волнуюсь, радуюсь. Сейчас была...
We had such a wonderful lecture before from Nicholas Christakis from Yale University. And we discussed how to get rid of bad habits with the help of more neuroscience. I think we will share these things as well. What will be the topic of our today's discussion? And here, that's a healthcare forum, and that's a very correct name of the forum. So this is Assembly of Healthy Moscow. That's about not only medicine and healthcare, but if we will look at scientific data, we will understand that not a lot depends on genetic. Of course, genes and medicine, they create an important background for our health, but our health mainly depends on social environment, on our habits and behavior. That's why in this respect, very often when we are talking about health, I think we waste our efforts. 80% of efforts generate us 20% of success. But if 20% of efforts we invest into the most important actions, they will give us 80% of success, and we'll be happy. And we'll be talking about the most important thing, those 20% of success. And moving to this part, I always have kinds of internal question. Well, yes, you could understand people who don't do something to improve their life and health status. Maybe they don't have time, but according to our statistical agency, why people do not exercise, it seems to them that they don't have time, they lack motivation. And that's funny. When I was preparing for the session, I was reading the statistics, and people say that they don't have enough health to exercise, take care of their health. And that's true about 60% of the people. And especially with the age. And in general, you can understand that position. I don't want to do something extra for your health, but the problem is that we always do many things, and we do things that are killing us and destroying us. That's alcohol, excessive food, the use of psychoactive drugs, the use of drugs, and improper sexual life and excess sexual contacts. And according to recent studies, it's mostly happening because we became to love each other less. We love each other less. Social isolation and loneliness, like in the US and Europe, it's an epidemic. And people are very lonely, and isolation is the most important stress, and loneliness is one of the risk factors, most important. And women who are socially isolated, they get to breast cancer, and also the frequency of death from breast cancer in women who are isolated is much higher compared to those who are not. And the main goal of our meeting is to share with each other our ideas on how we cope with bad habits, how we try to figure out our problems, how we teach others to do the same. Here we have experts from all areas, from different areas of our life, and doctors, sports people, athletes, and there is a hypnotist as well, a well-known hypnotist. And from all spheres of life we have speakers, and everybody has his unique experience of solving problems with bad habits and how to teach people on how to get rid of them. And the last thing I would like to mention before giving the floor to other speakers, I would like to share my own experience. And this problem that we are discussing, nobody is safeguarded, guys, that in 2012, that was a very hard time of my life. I almost died every day. I became a drug addict, alcohol addict. I was the person who was consuming different substances, which are not always prohibited. Well, they are legally prohibited, but these substances are deemed to be acceptable in some circles. I was not aware that I was thinking, and when every day I was waking up with a desire to commit suicide, I was so weak, I could not get up, and then I get a diagnosis of Barrett's esophagus. Despite being a doctor, despite being one of top doctors in the country, I was even acquainted with the president. I just found myself in a black hole. Nobody is guaranteed for sure can avoid that, and we need to help people with that. I would like to introduce our speakers. From left to right or right to left, Vladimir Voloshin, Vice President for Marketing of the Association of Labor Reserve, partner of Newman Sport, Ironstein, Rosaran. Vladimir, I see you everywhere in social media, online, and you're a legendary person for me. I've always wanted to meet you. I wanted to get your energy, get closer to sports. I'm very happy to see you. Thanks for coming. Maxim Zhurila, founder of School I Love Super Sport, and let us applaud to Maxim. And Max, well, we have had love for many years, and I am grateful he's in my life. And what was done by his team, I Love Super Sport, that's a cool project indeed, and I'm proud of that. And Paul McKenna is to my right, writer, a British hypnotist and expert on self-development, Alexei Utin, Chief Doctor of Smart Checkup. Yes, we will discuss how to get rid of bad habits, what methods work to quit smoking, drinking, start running. And the last thing we are going to discuss, according to Russian statistical agency, Russian people started to smoke less. The share of people who quit smoking increased over the past 6-7 years by 2 times, by 2-fold. So that's big news and good news. But we are not drinking much less, and we are not eating much less. So we will discuss that. And now I would like to give floor to Paul so that he can share his experience of how to solve smoking issue, and Paul will be happy to hear anything from you. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to be here as well. A lot of people ask me about quitting smoking because it's something that hypnotists are famous for helping people with. And I'll start by saying that smoking's a habit, right? You weren't born wanting cigarettes. You had to learn how to do it. And in fact, if you're a smoker, the very first time you smoked, you probably coughed and spluttered, and you didn't enjoy it. Because smoking does 2 things. What it does is it actually calms people down. The crude chemicals in a cigarette go in, that they're a toxin, and in response to those, the body releases endorphins. These are the body's natural opiates, so they make you feel calm and a little bit high. A cigarette does. Yeah. So years ago, doctors used to say to people who were stressed, take up smoking. That's before we learned that there are massive negative long-term health benefits. Now, just like any habit, you had to learn how to do it. When you were a child, you had to learn how to open a door, and you had to really think about it, or you had to learn how to tie your shoelaces, and you really had to concentrate, and then after you'd done it a few times, it became automatic. And you store, if you like, the program, like a computer program, in your subconscious mind. And then what happens is you see a door and you just go, oh, I'll just open it like that, or I'll just tie my shoelaces, because it's automatic, because you've practiced it a number of times. And smoking is just the same as any bad habit. The habit has a function. Anything that we do that is negative has a positive intent. So the positive intent of smoking is calm down, right? But there are plenty of other natural ways to calm down that aren't putting your life at risk, like cigarettes. And so in a way, what happens is smokers hardwire themselves to go, feel stressed, have a cigarette. And very often smokers smoke in the same places at the same time. They'll smoke one with their morning coffee. They'll have one after lunch. They'll have one after, say, a more intimate occasion. And so cigarettes become part of their lives. And after a while, they actually think, I am a smoker. It's part of their identity. Okay? As a hypnotist, how I help people to quit smoking is I do a number of things with them. First of all, everyone knows that it's bad for you, but they still do it. People aren't consciously trying to poison themselves with cigarettes, but it's become an ingrained habit, if you like. So what I do is I get them, first of all, to think about, and this is anyone here that wants to make a change that's got a bad habit, I'll say, I'd like you to think about where you'll end up if you look into the future if you continue smoking. And, look at it, off in the future, maybe it's a heart attack, maybe it's cancer, maybe it's pulmonary lung disease or something like that. And I paint a grim picture, right? And they go, whew, and they get frightened. Now, the first thing is when they get scared and stressed, they want to have a cigarette to calm themselves down. I mean, it's ironic. And so what I then do is I get them to think about a future without cigarettes. Now, at first they might go, oh, I'm not sure if I can do that without. And that's when I use hypnosis, which is a natural process of relaxation, where I ask people to imagine that they're more and more relaxed. And I get them to close their eyes, and they relax really deeply, and they go into a daydream. It's not the same as being asleep, but it's just a state of deep imagination, wonder, and freedom. And the beauty of this relaxing state is, when people are very deeply relaxed and they're imagining very vividly, they can imagine a self that's able to do things that they're not. So they can think outside of their normal mindset. Yeah? And so they can, yes, I can imagine I go through the day at work and I'm more relaxed and I don't need a cigarette. Yes, I can imagine a me that, finishes dinner and I don't want a cigarette because I don't want to be a slave to nicotine. I want to be free. And after they've imagined that over and over again, I get them to step into the movie so it seems really real. And what this does is this conditions the subconscious or the unconscious mind, that part of us which drives our habits. And so what they're able to do is to imagine the world without cigarettes and with greater health. They're able to breathe more easily, they've got more energy, and also they feel good about themselves because they've overcome this negative habit of relying on smoking to change their feelings. Now, it's worth saying at this point that everyone in the world, to some extent, is using some external means to control the way they feel, their feelings. Drinking, drug taking, gambling, sex, shopping, and of course, food, particularly sugar, which I'll be talking about later in the main hall. So, what a hypnotist does is, he gives them that feeling of peace and calm that the cigarettes were giving them, but he gives it to the people naturally. So that when they go inside, I get people to think about situations that would stress them out, which would make them want to smoke, and I get them to think about those, but feeling calm and relaxed. So they can imagine themselves in those situations without the need for cigarettes. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Paul. So, I remember how I quit smoking. A friend of mine helped me out. So, we agreed that if I will start smoking, I will have to pay him $10,000. I was not scared by $10,000, though it's a big amount, but I disliked that he will make money on me. Because he's my friend, he's not supposed to, but it did work. And I believe that was some great love from him towards me, because today it's 10 years since I quit smoking. It's today, exactly today. Today, that's the day when 10 years ago I quit smoking. And I had notification about that. I remember that day. I did not consume alcohol for 7 years. And then me and my wife, we went to Georgia, where they have wonderful Georgian wine. And at some stage, I felt like Georgia is impossible without wine. So I started to drink wine a little bit. I know whether that's good or bad. Anyway, it's not a barrier for my relations. And I would like to give floor to Maxim. Are you ready? Max, tell us about how to fight bad habits when I quit smoking. Yes, I did it many times, and 10 years ago, and I don't remember this day, actually, I don't celebrate it. Well, let me say the following. I have several ideas I would like to share. And then after all of the speakers finished, we could have the discussion about the title of our discussion, how to find your motivation. And there is a good phrase, that's a quotation, and from Artemy Lebedev, one of Russian designers. So the person asked him, how can I motivate myself? And he said, don't motivate yourself. Stay in the hours where you are. Stay in a bad shape. That word is not said by me, so don't be offended. Stay fucked up as you are. I did not say that. And changing your habits, that's the choice of the person himself. And while it's your choice that you make it, there is no any external power we could force somebody to quit smoking or something else, or start doing something. We can make an experience, social experience. Can we? Raise your hands, those who smoke. Thank you. Don't hold your hands. Raise your second hand if you know that that's bad for you, that's harmful. Okay, thank you. Almost everyone. And those who did not raise hands, I think they are cheating because they also know and they smoke. And they continue smoking at this time. And that's absolutely natural behavior. That's normal behavior for people. And another explanation here that everybody warns you about harm and damage from smoking. Doesn't work. And the question to you, but be honest. And who would like to quit smoking? Who believes that you should get rid of that in your life? Great. Not all of the hands which were up the first time. Not everybody wants to quit. If you did not raise your hand now, nobody will help them, even a hypnotist. Those who raise their hands, probably that could be useful for them to listen to how to quit smoking. My idea is very simple. Health is a resource. And all of this assembly is about health. And it's in the center of everything. But I am confident that health and the value of health, well, there is no value in it, because nobody needs to be healthy as is. But health is a resource, that is a way, that's a means of something. If you have power, enough energy, if you are healthy, if your brain works, then you can create something in your life. And the healthier you are, the more you can do. And then there is a big question, if this is a resource for life, and so what's the purpose of health in your life? Are there any goals, any tasks, or something which requires a different level of health? And then when I am saying this, people start to argue with me every time I say that. I say that every person has an optimal level of health in the present related to his current tasks in life. So the same is true about weight. Yes, people are overweight. Excessive weight by judgment of somebody, but this person, that's normal weight. He can live the life he wants to live with this weight and solve and address all of the tasks. And just to watch the hands, watch my hands. If in life he had other tasks and goals for which he would need a different weight, and or absence of smoking, he would have had a different weight and absence of smoking. There are no such tasks or goals. That's it. Those who are raising both hands and those who would like to change their life, the key to successful change is not in working with that habit directly, because that's a consequence only. You need to work with the root cause, and the root cause are your goals. Ask yourself, what are the goals in my life for which I need not to smoke, to weigh less, run in the morning? What are my goals? And that's a tricky question. That's a hard question, especially when, and in Russia, it's about 50 years of age, and the person is 50. I know many people who are 50, they say their life is finished. What are the goals? And if you are 60, then that's it, you are dead. You do not exist, but that's wrong. In any age, you can ask yourself a question. What I'm dreaming of? What are my goals? In the morning today, at Skolkovo Business School, I was organizing a meeting for my business partner. His name is Leonid Bogoslavsky. He's 68 years of age, and he's one of the most successful Russian investors. And his fortune is about $2 billion US. He is in the beginning of Forbes list. And that's the only person in the beginning of Forbes list who has the money made not on natural resources. He did with his mind. He was the first investor of Yandex company, and we use Yandex, all of us. We met before we started our event, and he told me, look, you had sent me before New Year a video about goal setting, and in Supersport every day we have a function and I invite people who will think about their goals for the next year. And this year I was not in the mood of making a public event. I told our team to make a short video, and I will just tell about a goal setting method, and people will watch that on YouTube. And then we did emails, and Leonid by chance received that. What was accident, and on the plane he was watching my video and he was thinking about goal setting, and then I took your method, 10 live blogs, and I wrote 5 goals per each blog, and he was reading me all of the goals in his life for the next year. This is a person who is 68 and he made a huge fortune. So, sports related, children's related, business related goals, like a normal person. I was listening to him and thinking, wow. And then on the way here I was talking on the phone with my wife, and I told her, can you imagine Bogoslavsky had set his goals and he told me about that? And have you seen the comments on YouTube about your video? Yes, I can guess. And the comments, one more life coach, he is just teaching us how to set the goals. That's complete bullshit. And then you understand there's a theory and there's practical life, and depending on how a person lives, his health adapts to that and his habits. So to finish my speech, I would like to say that if you want to work with your habits, you should not be too focused on them. Think deeper about what you want in your life in different areas. Set your goals for this year. Start with that. And these goals, they are like stars. They will lead you to quit and smoke it. There was a reason why I quit smoking, because I knew that was harmful for me. That was bad, and I was smoking. And I used to be fat. My weight was 115 kilograms. I was really fat guy. Of course I knew that it was better to be thin, but before you get the goal setting, you do not change. In super sports, we suggest they set goals like you swim without stop 1,000 meters. If you don't know how to do that, when a person gets a goal, he starts exercising and he quits smoking. You should not avoid eating too much, because that will be hard for you to swim, and the magic happens at that time.
Thank you very much. Let us applaud to our speaker. And before I give the floor to the next speaker, I would like to support Max, because when we look at any life system, we see that the result is a system organizing factor. So we can say that goals that we understand and set forth are decisive in our lives. And here I would like to mention a study that took place last year and was carried out in Michigan by Michigan University, and it demonstrated the fact that people that have goals or targets compared to those who lost goals in their life had different life expectancy. So their life could be shorter by 2.5 times those that didn't have any goals. You see? you can have premature death if you don't have any goals. And I should tell you that life systems work this way, and Christakis Nicholas talked about it, and the latest studies in system evolution dynamics show that evolution process always took place thanks to cooperation. And we are talking not about fighting to each other, we are talking about cooperating, about getting together, and this is something what will move you forward, what will help you survive. So socialization is very important, and it is something what is hardwired on a genetic level, and you see your goals may be provided by the environment, by your community, and that is why it is important to be part of a community like the one community Max represents. So contact to other people helps us transform, improve, and develop. So if you look at what happens us to change our stereotypes or habits, well, for me it was a social factor, and I have no doubts that a trigger was a meeting with a person like Max. And I think during discussion we are going to talk about it in detail, right? Yes, goals transform people, and also kindred souls, people that have shared goals. So it's important to join people who have same goals, not other different goals. So if you find someone who is interested in the same thing, it really will be very motivating. Now I'd like to pass the floor to Vladimir, because Vladimir works with this a lot. And how do I see your activity? You develop a community of people. Ironman is a movement nowadays, right? Max is also an Ironman, right? Absolutely. We are partners, co-partners of the same project. So there are 6 of us altogether, the 2 of us and 4 others. So we got together in order to change the reality for elderly people. So they joined sports. We joined sport, and we saw the transformation. So you see, Max at certain point had weight of 115 kilos, while I even hit his record, and I was as heavy as 120 kilos. Well, I would like to thank Max because he started talking about the goals. Well, guys, today is a great day. Today is the 19th of January 2020, and one of the largest services that brings together 48 million active users, Strava. So Strava today now announced that today as the day of setting goals. So today 48 million people should set goals and should voice their goals within this social media. And why is it important for us? Before New Year, they released a short report based on data they collected from 48 million subscribers. And these people practice 100 types of sports. And you could look at various activities. You can imagine how much data they accumulated. So they said the following: everyone who set goals last year on the same date were able to achieve those goals within 7 months. So let's say you have your annual goals, but you're able to reach them within 7 months after setting goals. So it is a very socially active platform. So I thought environment and your community matters. Public figures matter for you. They're great drivers. So if you communicated your goals to others, it means that it can be a motivating factor, because people, your friends, can ask you what is going on with your goals, and then you would feel awkward if you do nothing about your goals. And you would say, no, you know, I don't care about my goals any longer. I'm not going to change anything in my life. I'll tell you what, guys. All my stories are based either on personal experience or on experience of entrepreneurs that attend Skolkovo Business School. So once we had a student who told us, I want to change something about my business. And I told him, for the first 3 months, we are setting goals not related to business. What do you want to change in your life? I want to quit smoking. Good, I said, within 3 months, we are going to help you attain this goal. And then I told, he said, I want to lose 5 kilos of weight. And I said, it's a wrong goal, because if you want to lose these 5 kilos within 3 months, you will gain them back, because now it looks like a bet. Look at this issue from the other side. What do you love about sport? He said, I hate running. He was a stout person, but I love swimming. I told him, fine. How many kilometers can you swim per hour? He said, kilometers? Are you joking? Per hour? I cannot swim more than 15 minutes. I said, good, very good. Why don't we set a goal that in 3 months' time you will be able to cover 2 kilometers within 1 hour? You can do it without any problem. You even don't have to rush. I said, here's your coach. And you know what? In 1 month, he lost his 5 kilos, and in 3 months, he was able to swim 2 kilometers in 56 minutes. So we are talking about habits. In 3 months, he was able to develop a habit for a new activity. He forgot about extra weight. It was gone anyway. He stopped smoking, because you cannot swim and smoke. These two habits do not coexist. So he said, the cigarettes, they are not good for me because I'm short of breath, I cannot feel well, etc., etc. So you see, if we thought only about his particular goal of losing weight or stop smoking and would not find a solution as a physical activity, very likely he would get back to his old habits. Now, a year later, he continues swimming. He says, I don't care about smoking any longer. And he looks great, and he says, you know, now girls like me, and he's a young guy. For him, it's important. It's important to look good. It's one of the core principles of motivations. You need to bring yourself in order. As for the second stage of motivation, you need to start demonstrating results. So we told you he could swim only for 15 minutes, but now he can swim 2 kilometers with no problem. So you measure it quantitatively, and then it turns into quality. You start doing measurements, and it is another motivation. It works really well, but it works well till the point you look good and you start showing results. As for the third stage of motivation, it is related to the following. You need to understand who also feels good about that. It's not for a reason that sport abroad, amateur sport, is related to social responsibility. To run walk for 5 kilometers with a noble charitable goal is really good. Look at experience of Great Britain or the United States. It really works because it's hard to walk for 10 kilometers. So there is always a desire to stop this marathon. And there are two things that were voiced by a 15-year-old guy to me once. He was admitted to our startup academy at the age of 13. He already had 2 businesses. And I thought, wow, look at these young, motivated people. They want to have their own business at a very young age. And then he sold 2 businesses, and at the age of 15, he already managed 3 businesses. He joined my running club, and he said, you know, I understand why it's important for me to communicate to experienced people who are older than me, you know, because by the age of 15, I was able to divide my motivation into 2 blocks, internal and external. Internal motivation is when I want to create something on my own. So I want to become a millionaire at the age of 23. And he was from a poor family, and plus his mom was an alcoholic, and his father ignored him. So he had this motivation, a drive. He wanted to be self-sufficient and independent at the age of 23. And at the age of 15, he already earned as much as 1 million rubles per month. And as for external motivation, he wanted to communicate with people who could be his mentors. So I thought, great, interesting. Same thing happened to me as well. 2004, I was a professional athlete, and then I had to switch to normal life, and there you can find everything, cigarettes, alcohol, etc. How can you cope with it if you used to have very harsh discipline and everything was forbidden? Of course, when everything was forbidden, you have a temptation to try everything and anything. So I tried cigarettes as I quit sport, and as Paul said, you know, it was great, any stress. Then, you know, in 2 years, I would smoke 2 packs per day. It was a nightmare. I understood it was bad, but, you know, when I stopped professional sport, I joined the tobacco producing company. And I remember I went to their producing facility in Finland. And I remember I had a tour around manufacturing facility. And they said, you know, this facility services only the Russian market. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, can you imagine how much they produce? And all this goes to Russia, and all is consumed in Russia. And one more thing, the lady talked about the business of the company. So she said, our tobacco business accounts for 11% of the entire turnover of the company. And what is the remaining 89%? And 89% remaining of profit accounts for sport. I said, you service both audiences, healthy and unhealthy? Yes. But you can see there are a lot more people who love taking care of their health, while there is also a small share of people who are killing themselves. And as I got back, I understood I need to quit smoking, because I understood how many people are willing to kill in their health, and I didn't want to be part of them, among them. So I understood that environment matters. At that point, there was no external motivation for me. And, you know, you even don't have to buy cigarettes, because people often have smoke break and say, come on, let's go, let's have a cigarette. How can you quit smoking when everybody smokes around you? Now, I understand for sure, if in the environment, in my environment, there is a smoker, and I have to downsize the person, it will be the smoker, because these people, they waste time at work, and they also take someone to join them. I don't want any smokers in my company. So if there are any employers among you and you have smokers in your headcount, get rid of them, because they're no good. I can assure you of that. What else can I tell you? 7% of Russians, when asked what is the criteria of happiness for you, answered, and it was a recent study, they said, good health. You see, you just need to be healthy to be happy. Think of that, but it's a lie, because 77% of this audience would think that they are happy, but it's not so. We have different data saying that people in the middle age typically do not go to the doctor even to do a regular checkup. And at the age of 50, there will be a point when you cannot recover your health. And only Boguslavsky can set goals at the age of 68, while the rest, starting from the age of 50 till the end of their life, work because they need to earn money for medicines. So to think today, on the 19th of January, think about the fact that life will end at some point, and one day you can cross the Rubicon, and at one point of your life you will earn money only to cover your medicine bills. So try to undo bad habits and engage in healthier lifestyle and find healthy hobbies. Thank you, Vladimir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You know, there is a day of setting goals. It is the 31st of December, because as we drink our glass of champagne, we also set goals for the new year. And there is a metaphor I love. It's like serotonin wave of happiness covers the world, because it's also a day of consciousness, because this is just another illusion that you set your goals and then you just live as usual. Well, I also thought of a great story about two target audiences and weight loss, because if you set a goal just to lose a kilo or 2 kilos, it will be a mistake to set goals this way. There was a great study that was carried out by California University in LA, and it was done based off Medicare order. So they were curious to find out whether any systems for weight loss work or not, whether they're efficient. And we understand that weight loss is associated with risk loss. So they analyzed all diets, and it turned out that 2/3 of people that stick to diets actually gain weight. So when your goal is just to lose weight, it might be a wrong approach, because you can have a lot of weight fluctuation. So your strategy should be developed in a different way. You need to develop a healthy habit, and your weight may lose automatically. And what else would I say? That, the subscription to diets on average costs $50 per month, and there are a lot of lovers of diets, but you need to understand who are the largest owners of diets and which are the largest businesses in Russia. First of all, businesses revolve about female audience, and 85% of Russian women would like to look beautiful and healthy without doing any sports or without being active physically. So many women or people would like to have a magic rod or magic pill. And I can tell you that business number one in Russia is astrology, not oil and gas, astrology. So secondly, second most successful business in Russia is a diet business. So people instruct you what to eat and what not to eat. But you see, you can attain a goal, but that may be detrimental for your health. But your goal should be to move forward without losing your health. So you see, diet developers, the largest diet developers in worldwide are McDonald's and Heinz. So I thought of it as you talked about tobacco. So it's a very beneficial business. On one hand, you have a diet developing segment of business. On the other hand, you sell fast food. And now I would like to share with you data of a great study that was published, I'll tell you where, by British Journal Sports Medicine. It was a huge study that covered 232,000 people. And the study showed that running reduces mortality risk by 30%, and optimal effect is attained even when you run as little as 15 minutes per week. For me, it was an eye-opening experience, because even if you crawl towards result, if you make little steps or crawl towards result, it already will work, and it will provide you with a great effect. In this regard, I really love walking around. When you take a more small walk, and it really works. Even short walks will work. So make little steps toward your goal, and it means that you are moving towards healthy lifestyle, and that reduces mortality risk. And when I felt bad many years ago, no motivation would work for me. And for me, it was hard to find energy to get up from bed. And I felt depressed. And there were problems in relations, problems with money, all kinds of problems. So yes, there are situations when everything looks bad and you feel bad. And in that case, empathy and support of others would be life-saving. We will have another section about depression, and depression in terms of incidence is growing, and WHO 2 years ago dedicated 1 year to depression, and the slogan was "Let's talk." One contact to a human being who is ready to talk to you and who feels empathy can be life-saving. And there was another great topic of medicine that was mentioned today. I love it because I'm a doctor myself and I experience different conditions in my life. So we need to understand whether a healthy lifestyle can be a guarantee for you to escape your problems. Of course not. It's an illusion. You think that you can fully control your condition. Unfortunately, no. And I know many people who are super healthy and they would suddenly develop a cancer disease and they would feel so disappointed. Well, of course, there is no guarantee. I go through regular checkups. I'm going to do another one on Tuesday. It's very important to track your condition, body condition. And now I'd like to pass the floor to our other speaker, Alexei, and of course things are not that simple, and there are different disorders, behavioral disorders, even related to healthy lifestyle. There is such a thing as orthorexia. Google it if you have never heard this word, and I believe it's going to be classified as a disease. It means that people feel stressed because they follow a certain diet or they want to attain certain sport achievements no matter what. And there was one story that demonstrated that when people don't work with experienced coach, then they just chase certain achievements. They forget that they need to be in contact with their body. And if you don't have professional support, within first year of doing exercises, you may feel out or you experience traumas. Therefore, we have great projects that help you avoid these problems. And Alexei, can you talk a little bit about this? And can you talk about your common challenges as well as checkups and other things? Yes, hello. As for checkups, today it is the third time I'm going to talk about checkups. Perhaps I will talk about something else because I just spoke in this audience as well. So why don't we talk about living longer? And it was mentioned before that the age of 50 is the age when it's already too late to take care of your health. I think you should start taking care of your health at the age of 30 or 40. And of course you need to focus primarily on cardiovascular system, because when it comes to this system, the earlier you start taking care of it, the better chances you have to fix it and live longer. Circulation Journal published an article in 2008 that said that in 90% of cases you can prevent myocardial infarction if you offer accurate diagnostics, if you measure higher blood pressure. Well, that is already an indicator. Or if you understand that smoking is bad and you give up this habit at an early age, this is also very beneficial for the health. So the earlier you find something about yourself, the longer you will live. And definitely you will reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases. We often say cynically that only the few will live as long as to develop Alzheimer's disease or cancer. But today we experience a revolution in oncology. Very often we see new medicines launched aimed at counteracting cancer diseases. So many people will live long, and we need to preserve health as much as we can. So let's see what reduces your life expectancy. First and foremost, it's smoking. As Hype knows, in Russia this service is not widespread. It's not very available. So there are instructions on internet how to give up smoking, and there are lots of myths about smoking. Some people talk about a well-known guy who would smoke 2 packs a day, who lived as long as 90 years, and there is always a relative in our family who says, yes, this guy lived for 90 years and smoked, so what? So smoking is not that bad. But I'll tell you what, doctors do not give up smoking abruptly because it's too bad for health. People do not understand. They think that smoking is only bad for lungs or is associated with cancer, lung cancer disease. But I'll tell you that the core consequence of smoking is not lung cancer per se, although of course the risk is there. First and foremost, the risk is caused for cardiovascular system. Every time you smoke, certain components get into your lungs. Some of them are free radicals.
And there is increased pressure on the arterial wall, and the pressure it's also bad for the arterial wall. And cholesterol, which is present in blood, doesn't matter a lot or not. It will try to get into the damaged artery wall, and the atherosclerotic plaque will be increased. It will be oxidated. It will be interesting for our immune system. There will be systemic inflammation in arterial wall. That's the main reason why we are getting older. Our vessels are getting older faster, and there are more plaques. The plaques are ruptured, and there is a thrombus. It blocks the artery flow, and a stroke and heart attack, and it's the cause of death of 55 citizens of the Russian Federation. We need to quit smoking, but nicotine is just a drug which makes you smoke on and on. And there are two methods on how to quit smoking. It's a nicotine replacement therapy. That's the first one. You use the nicotine patches, and when you feel like you want to smoke, a smoker can use chewing gum with the nicotine or nicotine spray, not to avoid smoking. We don't say the person just use your willpower. We understand that people are weak creatures. Most of us are not leaders. There is such a method. The second method is not about replacement therapy, but blockers of nicotine receptors. So this is a drug which blocks this nicotine receptor, and we stop to feel pleasure and enjoy smoking. When a person is smoking a cigarette, he's smoking a cigarette and he's taking those drugs, and smoking is not related anymore with the smoking. There is no dopamine release and there is no enjoyment, and the person after a while can easily quit smoking, and antidepressants help. And for some reasons, not all of the drugs are available in Russia. In the Western guidelines, the antidepressants are mentioned, and the date of quitting smoking, you need to set it. You need to tell all of your friends and acquaintances so that they support you on the way, in the journey. And alcohol addiction, that's very serious. Usually everybody is remember a Texas study, and the person, if he's consuming a small amount of alcohol, he lives longer than a person who doesn't drink at all. But according to the most recent study published in Lancet November last year, showed that these are different people, very different groups of people. People who do not drink at all. It's one social stratum. People who do not drink because of medical issues, health issues. I do not take into account religious preferences, or people who do not drink at all. You know them. These are people who were abusing of alcohol. They drank too much in the past, and now they say they do not drink anymore. And people who drink a little bit, these are also special people, people who can control everything in their life, like Max and Vladimir, who can summon themselves, who can take their willpower. And when they are at a corporate, I've been controlling myself for 20 years. I worked in alcohol industry. People who have over-control, the social strata are not the ones which are the same. If you can take 2 glasses of red wine at a party and go to sleep home, and everybody continues partying till the morning, and then you will have a better professional career and salary. And the main longevity factor is income. And the lifespan difference for people with different income is up to 14, compared to minimal income and maximum income. It's 14 years difference in lifespan. And just talking about French paradox, all of these stories prove that alcohol is absolute evil, though not for many people alcohol is the only way to get rest, to relax, and it can be used for recreational purposes. And here there are problems which emerge. And each of you, if you feel that you have some issues with alcohol, have problems, WHO has a test, it's audit, a test, and for the addiction. And Alcoholic Anonymous, this is a psychological support group which can help you. And I think Mikhail will speak about psychological support. Alexei, I think alcoholic will never say and admit that he's alcoholic, a real one. From my perspective, it's all good with moderation. And if you quit completely, did not lead to anything good, you know? If the person is exercising and can afford a couple of glasses of wine after exercises, why not? And if he knows that he will come back to work in the morning, to work, and then he will have to exercise. We are talking about different things, and I wanted to mention this as well. Medicine should be flexible. If these are severe dependencies and addictions like alcohol addiction, yes, of course he needs to get rid of alcohol, but there is a concept of decrease of harm. For some addictions, people, even if they want to stop, like heroin addiction, also, less than 5% of people can last without heroin for more than 5 years. And we need support from the state, because if you use heroin, you know why I am arguing with you. I also talk to people who say, for this year I have certain goals. I can ask them without the limitation, do you limit your lifestyle? Some people say, I don't want to be a victim of a concept. If the person lives a healthy lifestyle, he's walking more than 10,000 steps, or he's getting ready for a marathon, like 10 or 21 kilometers, he says, yes, I need to make some adjustments in nutrition. He asks me, I tell him, eat everything, because if you lead an active life and you have a request for some food, more fruit, more vegetables, a piece of meat, just eat it, because it will be burned down. You can understand that something is bad for you, and then you need to act with moderation, but I never witnessed active people who are alcoholics or lazy bones. They died already, that's why I did not meet them. Among active people, they have other problems of concern. In Russia, regular people, their instinct of survival is very low. What does it mean? If everybody is running right, they are running right. No, just because of social influence. And in our country, the sports are becoming more popular, and the number of accidents is also increasing relate to sports. People will start to run, swim or something without knowing the opportunities of the body, the abilities of the body. And the main problem, you emphasize it very correctly. Let's take statistics of 2018. 55% of deaths in Moscow were due to cardiovascular system, and it includes athletes as well. People were running, there was a thrombus, and if you want to change something, first do a checkup, do a complete medical checkup, and make functional. That's what people don't do according to statistics to our clinics. They do not come for heart ultrasound and ultrasound of the cardiovascular system. They just start running. And knowing the resources of your body can give you lots of ideas what you can do today at the current age. And to make just timely adjustments will help you to be active till 60, 70 years of age, and maybe till you're 80, and that's great. Just you need to know the capabilities of your body today and what your body should receive in order to improve those indicators. Digital me, that's the future. Making your future avatar living a perfect life, that would be great. And before giving the chance to you to ask some questions, I have a very short summary of our session, of our discussion. What we were discussing, there's one fundamental problem related to our psychology, mindset, and brain. When a person doesn't feel well, and he doesn't understand his body, doesn't enjoy his everyday life, there is a desire to regulate his feeling with the help of some substances, some other factors that we use as artificial regulator of our mood and our feeling of ourselves. And there is a negative mechanism which turns on, in this case, our goals, they define our perception. When I start to consume, to take something, I automatically get to a change consciousness state, and my behavior changes dramatically. In this respect, the unique key to this problem will be the following. I would recommend you to find community, some environment where you can just talk to people who had hard times in their life, like Alcoholic Anonymous. If you have issues with alcohol, that may be useful, and professional help from psychologists and doctors, and that can be schools and communities connect with healthy lifestyle. Yes, I would like to agree with Vladimir. Audiences and groups of people are different. Now I'm in a state when I have enough energy and power to do some physical exercises. Let's say wherever we are on Bali Island, in Altai Mountains, I love walking around and running. I enjoy it. And at some point of time I felt shitty, really. I didn't want anything at all. You know, at that point of time, what helped me? So that was meditation of silence. You need to allocate time to be with you when you are, that's the wrong you. And social support helped me from people who were close to me in their spirit, and this opportunity to share your feelings and even bad feelings and sufferings. Let us talk. And there is there was a social media for people in such a state, and our school uses this mechanism, socialization. People learn how to share their feelings and emotions. This is sharing of your emotion. It helps a lot to get out from that bottom. And step by step, though very slowly, just it really works when you start thinking about it, and then you take practical steps. I would like to add here, when we work with entrepreneurs, business people, any project, even the project on changing something inside you, starts with inspiration, and this inspiration you can get it from different sources. There are three sources mainly: movies, books, and people. And today we have the third element when we are ready to share our experiments. They gave me as a present a book for the new year. and the name is very simple, How Badly Wanted, by Matt Fitzgerald. That's a legendary person. He wrote so many books about sports. I read in 10 hours, and he explains the psychological aspects of great athletes why not achieve professional results successfully. And in our life the same happens. I cannot answer to this question, how badly I want, how much I want it. If you say, no, let it be like that, I'm okay. So this is how athletes do not become Olympic champions, because they are not fighting for 1 single second. Let us applaud our speakers and move to questions and answers. Konstantin will help us with the mic. Hello, thank you very much, Dmitry. I would like to thank all of the speakers. Health management forever. And my question is, well, that's bad that you spoke about smoking. There are lots of other bad habits. 95% of us did not raise hands that they were smoking. Please tell us, what do we do with children? They get to a different environment, they are at school, in summer camp, and they should try something or not. Shall we allow them or not to try things? Yes, we understood we are not drinking, we are not smoking, we have a healthy life, but children, what about children? They are children. Introduce yourself. I see that your name is Anton. Anton Kurkin from Sheremetyevo Airport. So I work at Sheremetyevo Airport. Who has children? Please share some ideas. I have 4 children. For 2 days in the morning, I am talking about children. Yesterday I was meeting a friend of mine. He has 3 children, 16, 12 and 5. My daughter is 9 years old. Now he's sharing with me what's happened with his 16-year-old daughter, that process of growing up, becoming an adult, what are the difficulties. And then I asked him what you would do differently if you had a chance to correct some mistakes. And then he said, I would give a bit more freedom to my daughter, so that she does not become a perfect daughter like we want her to be, but to give her a chance to make decisions. And I asked him, after 3, that's too late, by a Japanese writer, and he told me I should have read it before the first child, because it's about the system of choice. If there is a conflict between a parent and a child, the main conflict now are about the gadgets and time. And there are conflicts when, for example, why are you always online? You better study. And you need to ask why he's there. I had an example this year. My friend, he's now 48, and his son is 18. For the last 7 years, they had this family conflict, very tough one, because he is playing computer games. I tell him, have you spoken to him? Maybe do sports. No, he dislikes anything. He wants to be there in the computer. What games? Dota 2. Then he's not alone. There should be 5 people playing this game. Do you know who he plays with? And he told me no. Let us talk to him. It turned out he has a team, and they live in different cities. They meet online, and the question was, tell me please, do you have ambitions to become a cyber sport professional athlete? And he said no, because my dad would kill me. And the child could tell him that he would become athlete there. It will be more than NBA and football in 5 years time, and they are making more than $1 million when they are 29, cyber athletes. And we do not understand how one generation can be healthy, and also we need to provide other chances to the next generation. Communication, freedom and experience, the right to make a choice. This is what I do in my family. Me and my daughter, every month we attend different sports functions, cyber sports, hockey, football, swimming, and I just watch what she likes. And once he comes and say, I want tennis, and I want to swim, and we went to try. Young people today, they cannot make the decision where to stay for long. They want to try everything, and they need it. Yes, I wanted to agree with you. What about you, dear colleagues? Do you have anything to add? Maybe Paul could share his opinion.
What about children or about changing habits? Okay, so one of the things I notice is that a lot of people set New Year's resolutions. Has anyone done that? Anyone here got any New Year's resolutions? Just show me. Yeah. Okay, now a lot of people do this at the beginning of the year, and for example, they'll say they want to lose weight. And what they do is they join a gym, but by the end of January, they've stopped going. And what they've tried to do is they've thought, I've got to lose, a massive amount of weight, and they make the goal too big. Now, there's nothing wrong with having big goals, but if you are going to have a big goal, you need to break it down into small chunks. So, for example, I say to people, what will it be like when you've lost weight, when you feel thinner, and you're in good health? But what we do is we will either two things. I either work backwards, or maybe, they say, I want to get a new job. And I say, okay, let's imagine you've got that job. What did you do just before that? And they'll say, before that, I went on an interview. Before that, I applied for the job. Before that. We back engineer it, yeah? Or the other thing to do is to do it a small piece at a time. So instead of people say, I've really got to get fit, you could start with a simple walk, then make that walk longer, and then make that walk even longer, and then begin to turn it into a run. In fact, a couple of people I know recently ran a marathon after from not doing any exercise at all and being very overweight, and they took, as one of the other speakers mentioned, months over it. So they didn't think, I've suddenly got to do it today. They thought, I'm going to do it over a period of time. So one of the things I think is, if you can say to yourself every day, I've done something towards achieving my goal, you'll feel good about it, and it'll become easier to do that than not do it. There's a friend of mine who says, if you go and tell a lamppost your plans every day, you're just more likely to do them. They're more likely to happen, if you like, because you've put energy and concentration into doing that.
Спасибо, да, Пол, да.
Thank you, Paul. So we moved away from children. Talking about children, I would like to add, and now we will finish our discussion. That's time to finish. I have 4 children, 15, 13, 6, and 4. I need just to remember the ages, and the small one will be 4 in February. And I just agree with that. We need a dialogue and healthy environment in the family. Like Lev Tolstoy said, I hate teaching and medicine, but these are sciences. Because pedagogics and teaching, how that's nasty to teach others. Medicine is about how you live against the laws of nature and you stay healthy. It's not working out. And here's the same, that's about life. So if I smoke and say that's bad to smoke, it will not work, and the child will understand that you must say it's bad to smoke and continue smoking. Just your example and acceptance as well. I liked that story about cyber sports. It's impossible without a dialogue and positive environment. And so this dad and son, they went to a tournament of cyber sports. Now they are best friends. They need to attend a function once. It's absence of communication and absence of acceptance. Now it will be harder and harder to cope with children because the technologies are part of their life, but health is there as well. So you can never cope alone. Thank you for your attention. I would like to thank our speakers for today's discussion. Thank you. Be healthy.